All right, so my name is Kirk Nord. I'm the regional support manager from Oklahoma. I am from Oklahoma, but I'm Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. So I just want to welcome everyone. I know this has been a long few days, but I think it's been very good. I want to thank everybody on the operations side. They've done a great job for making this a really seamless presentations. Also, I'd like to thank my regional or my director of operation, Andy. I know that he's on here, and Mike as well for panelists. Mike is. Do you want to make an introduction, Mike, on yourself, or?
Nope. A lot of people already know me. I'm a director of operations, and once upon a time, long, long ago, Kirk was my direct report. Now he gets the pleasure of reporting to Andy instead of me, which is all good.
Yeah, it is. We're all a big team. If y'all haven't noticed, we all work together really well. And we miss each other when we can't see each other, and we miss you guys. So I just want to thank the event partners. Without you guys, we wouldn't have jobs, and we enjoy serving you, and we enjoy having you as friends as well. So welcome everyone. This presentation is going to be the importance. It's going to just a few housekeeping. This is recording. It is recording now. So if you don't catch this, you can catch it in the next few days. It will be live on our website. Also, this is a discussion. I want to discuss things, so you don't have to put your camera on. I would ask until we get through a few things to keep while I'm speaking, keep it on silent, just like you have everywhere else, and we will try to get through this. This is either going to be the fastest session you've been to, or it's going to be a good one anyway, regardless. But I don't have a tremendous amount. I just want to talk to you a little bit about the importance of head referees and kind of our stance on the head referees. Last year, as you know, it was for the state championships and only for us making the event partners or asking the event partners to have their state championship head referees certification. So anyway, so I'm going to go right into my slide. So these are the new things this year. This is a new head referees for head referees. This is mostly for drive team. It's T2. So drive team members is permitted to immediately appeal the head referee's call. So they can't leave the driver's box. The difference is they can't. Last year they were able to within a few. This year within a few matches they could come back and get the head referees. We had some issues with that, and so this year we kind of critiqued it and thought, we changed it a little bit. So the drive team members they no longer can leave the driver's station until they have spoken with the head referee. Now, if they do that, then basically they're forfeiting their right. They can still talk to the head referee, but as far as a rule change or something to do with a score change or something like that, then if they leave the field or leave their driver's station, then they relinquish that right to be able to ask about the rule or an overturn. Is that right, Mike? Was that correct in what I said?
Correct. You've got the information here the way it should be, and this will all be covered a little bit later. But go ahead and start, and then we'll answer some questions as it comes up to this.
Okay. So another head referee rule this year.
Hey, Kurt.
Yes, sir.
You did get a question right after your question from Foster about, does this mean the field reset can't happen? And I'm going to kick that off to you. If you don't know it, I can help, but good question about
the field reset will not happen until the referee has discussed with the teams, because if it is a scoring situation and we start resetting the field, then they will not be able to look at the field and recount. is that correct, or do you have anything to add to that, Andy?
That is correct. I would add, as event partners, when you have your event meetings at the beginning of the event, go ahead and encourage your students to self-advocate, because if they don't advocate, you might have some younger siblings that just jump to the resetting in the field because that's just what they've been doing for the last 2.5 hours. And without any knowledge, you now have the field reset and the students sitting there waiting for the ref to show up. So encourage your students to advocate.
Okay, so this year, instead of just the state championships, based on the town hall meeting, and it's also published in the game manual, under T1, there's a note on head referees, and I believe that it's number 4 subheadings. It says the head referee must be an REC Foundation certified VRC head ref for the current season. So it's a little bit different. We're asking a little bit more of you guys. I believe it's going to make all of the events better and more seamless, and it'll help you out with this new rule. But I wanted to, here's kind of my question on the bottom here. So how do you feel as event partners in your regions? What are some of the pros and cons of this rule? Is this going to be more difficult as event partners, or is this rule going to be pretty seamless and no problems, or you can't see? So I would like to kind of open it up, and you can put your responses either in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll go through it one at a time and let you guys discuss how you feel about this new rule.
Michelle went and answered this. She said, a pro. This will ensure that the head referees have prepared for the role ahead of time. It's great.
It's awesome. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think it's going to make all events better. I don't see a lot of cons. I mean, some in my, in Oklahoma, we've got kind of a teacher shortage and event partner shortage and stuff like that. So it may affect a few of my events, but I don't see it affecting a whole lot of events. But is there someone else that's got a pro or a con? Or?
I have a question here, and this will all get into the pros and cons. And then I have in here that Francis wrote, as a head referee, can we decide to allow a change to the score, etc., after the team has left the station? Or should we hold firm to this rule without exceptions?
I would think that this is going to depend on your other, so usually you have 2 scoring refs, and you have the guy running the tournament manager, and you also have the head referee. So a lot of times, like I said, the rule states is if they leave, then there's not going to, and before they talk to the head referee, then there's not going to be any changes made. Very seldom there's going to be score changes made, but sometimes sometimes there is a situation that comes up that you have to make a score change. So basically, say one of the scores, they got it backwards, right? So the red team actually won, but the scoring refs put in the blue, and then the teams come back and said, hey, we looked at the, it shows on TM Mobile that we lost this match. Why? It shows on the, so that we could go back and they can look at it and say, that's one scenario. I'm not sure if that answers your question. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, because what happens is if there's a swap between red and blue, when it comes to VRC, that's not a scoring change. It's an application change to how the score was inputted, and if that is an error, that is one that is very understandably corrected. But if it comes to, no, I had 3 more points than you had, they left the field, and they agreed, because all our referees are phenomenal at doing this. I see Zia is on the call here, and she does this every time with that. She points to her scorekeepers and she says, do you have this? And they say yes. And then the scorekeepers go over and they show them the score. They all agree to it. And if there's a change, I've seen it happen where they've called her back over. Hey, Zia, come on back over here, and she will then consult with them. But the field should not be reset, and that was the important thing, so that they could go over it. But if the teams leave and agree to the score and come back 20 minutes later, is, oh, no, I got video evidence. We don't look at video evidence. It just doesn't work that way.
Great point, Mike. That's good.
And then the next question goes right along with this: what would be proper process for teams to appeal to a head referee that has already left the field for the next match?
Okay, so that is a great question. So most of the time there'll be a head referee that swaps from one field to the other, but your scoring refs stay at the field most of the time. Now, the best practice that I would say is get with the scoring ref and let them know that, hey, would you go tell the head referee that I would like to talk with you? Or your division manager, if there's a division manager, some events have division managers, you can get with them, and the head referee will either let them know. I know at Worlds they do that. The head referee says, I will be with you right after this next match. I'll come back and talk to you. Or that some places there's a designated X in the middle of the field. If you have a question, the teams go to it.
And so what the difference is on some of this, if it's a difference in challenging a score tabulation, or it's, I really think that they pinned me for too long. The pin me for too long is a judgment call from the referees, and that's where you would go ahead and reset the field, because the field reset would not impact their opinion on did they pin me too long, something of that nature. That's an opinion-based thing, and that would be appropriate for them to wait, because we can't just have matches stalled, and many events only have one head referee that bounce back and forth. And so that's when the head referee would say, okay, I'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to start this match over here. Once they go to score, on their way back to get the next one started, they take care of it. A lot of this would all be in the referee training document that we have that lead to the referee certification. And so a lot of that's covered in that documentation, so that will help out a lot. That's the end of the questions I have right now, Kirk.
Okay. So nobody has any, I've heard a lot of pros and I've heard a lot of just questions, but so no one, do you not feel, anybody feels like this is going to affect them negatively, this question that I'm posing? I just want to make sure. I mean, we're capturing it on a recording anyway, but I just want to make sure beforehand, because we were kind of waiting to see. We made the rule, but we also want to always make sure that we're listening and paying attention to the event partners. We're not trying to make anything harder on you. We just want to see that everybody is on the same level as far as being consistent with all of the calls throughout all of the states and countries, right? So, like I said, this is liable to be the first, if y'all guys don't. So here's some best practices. So I just wrote a few here. So head referee should wear a striped shirt, right? Also a good practice is head referees should be affiliated with any of the teams. So I would like some of your best practices, right? What do y'all guys do for head referees?
I'll feed one in while we're waiting for people to respond or to turn their mic off. A really good best practice. Oh, that's okay. I don't like crickets. So the best practice for the referees is to make sure that the event partners, and you're all event partners, that you treat your head referees with plenty of donuts, lots of coffee in the morning, and frequent access to having some drinks. Make it a fun situation for them, and be on the lookout if you are aware of situations and that are going to possibly happen, that you are in contact, within hearing range, so that you become a primary witness to something. But I've seen our referees, whether they were certified or not certified in the past year, 99% of our referees are extremely good at doing the right things at the right time and calling the matches as they're written in the book.
So some of the other, best practices, other than feeding them well, you want to make sure that they're having a good time. They want to make sure that they're, the head referee is probably one of the most important key volunteers that you can have. They make sure that your event is running smoothly. They're educating the kids on rules. They educate students before, right? So they're not allowing them, they're trying to be, that's never their intent, is to be punitive, right? We want to educate, and the head referees want to educate, and we want to make it about the kids. So first of all, we want to make sure that, the head referee is taken care of, and also that, the whole day is planned around the kids. It's about the kids, right? So him being an educator and educating them and visiting with them, and being cordial and not, stiff-necked, or it makes the day go a lot faster. At Worlds, sometimes as a division manager, I see that, that my event is running like 5 or 6 minutes behind. I can go to the head referee and say, okay, we need to speed this up a little bit. He might be, having a lot of people trying to get him, but they always try to have a backup ref, right? So that's a good best practice, to have a backup certified ref. So what happens, here's another question. What happens the day of if you don't have a backup ref, certified ref, if they don't show up, the guy that you have? So what would you do then? I'm sure this has probably happened to some of the event partners. So do we have anything, Mike?
Yeah, we have nobody putting any answers in here, but I would put forward that especially this year, we're going to need to be extremely flexible, and we do have a rule. We would like all head referees to be certified, but there are emergencies that happen. I mean, it could be something as simple as, they woke up and they were not feeling well, and that's a good reason under today's age that they don't come to the event. I think it's up to the event partners to do the best they can at finding a referee that is able, that can do the event itself, and that is best done by the event partner looking at the teams that are in attendance. And if there's a cross section of teams in attendance, that they talk to 3 or 4 of the really strong teams that are also maybe event partners, and ask one of them if they'd be willing to step in. And we'd want to have 2 or 3 step in, because if there are teams out there, it would always be good if they had somebody standing next to them that wasn't with their teams to help call the event. And you have to make do, because we don't want to send these kids home. We want the event to happen because this is a chance for them to celebrate. And every one of these matches that they go to, every event they go to, yeah, it's a competition, but you know what? It's really a celebration of their stuff. So I'm going to put somebody on the spot here, and I'm sure she won't get mad at me, Zia. I'm going to ask Zia a question. Zia, you can turn your microphone on. If you were to pick out 1 or 2 things that are really good best practices from your standpoint, because you're a world championship referee, I've seen you at Kalahari and other places. You've had a lot of experience doing a phenomenal job. Can you give us a couple best practices from the standpoint of a veteran referee?
Hi, Mike and everybody. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to share some of our best practices. One of the things that I heard Kirk talk about was making sure that you've got enough personnel so that your head referee can bounce from field to field to field. That is so incredibly important. If I'm head refereeing an event where I've been chatting with the event partner and they tell me that they're going to run 3 fields. I tell them that in a perfect world, they'll give me 6 scorekeepers, but that I can make it work with 4, because that enables me, especially if one of those scorekeepers for each field, because they work in pairs, is experienced, I can take a look at the field, give them a quick nod to any game objects that I see that may be questionable, are they or aren't they scored, and then I can bounce right over to the next field. And that allows me to do kind of this thing that I've become a little bit notorious for, which is running ahead of schedule. It's the only magic I've got, and I can only do it at REC events. So make sure that you've got enough scorekeeping referees to support your head referee. And if they're experienced, then you can make your event fly on time. I know that's one of the hardest things to do as an event partner. You've got exhausted volunteers, you've got parents that might need to drive their kids 3 hours back to the other side of the region, and you want things to run on time. So that's a really important one, and I love that Kirk already brought that up. The second thing is, if you've, and I dropped this into the chat, if you've got someone who you would like to have head referee, either at an event you've got that season or an event that you might be hosting a year down the line, find those experienced head referees in your region and say, hey, I've got Susie over here, and I'd like for Susie to head referee at an event over at our tournament. Can she pair up with you to kind of shadow and stand with you in that head referee position at the field at a tournament where you're refereeing, so that you can communicate all of those things you're seeing. That is incredibly helpful. That is my favorite way to bring up all of the other referees in my state, is I try and grab one and be like, cool, you're gonna stay with me, you're gonna run with me from field to field, and we're just gonna talk about everything this whole time. That can be really, really useful. Ooh, I see that Jane asked a question about the difference between a regular scorekeeper referee and a non-head referee. So if you've got just all of the talent in the world and your volunteer pool is huge, you can have a regular referee and kind of just like a field referee that floats at each field, and then scorekeeping referees. But REC really rolled the the scorekeeping referee and regular referee roles sort of into one. And they are wonderful, impartial eyeball recording devices. So really encourage your head referees to use those scorekeepers, not just as somebody tapping in live scoring on those tablets, but as a second set of eyes in whatever corner they're in. They became so important this year in that unprotected corner to see what was really going on. They have those scorekeeping tablets. Yes, they're called a scorekeeping referee, absolutely, but they're a second or third set of eyes that can really make the difference in tricky calls. I don't know if I've got any other best practices aside from, if you've got old field tiles, put them down at the corners of the field where your referees are standing, because their feet and their knees and their ankles are screaming by the end of the day, and old field tiles make great anti-fatigue mats. So
That's
use
great.
those liberally.
That's a great point, Zia.
Do you want to handle a few more that came in? My system sort of hiccuped a little bit, and now all of a sudden it fed in all these
Sure.
pros and things.
Sure,
So
no
I'll
problem.
read some of these off, and you can comment. Foster says that, when scoring, move the green balls, I think that's the balls that aren't scored, out of the score zone so that it's easy to count. That's a scoring process, and I think that's a really, really good one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I have a quick comment on that.
Yeah.
Make sure, because I love doing that. I do that all the time, move things away. I make eye contact with the team. I put my hand near the object and I say, I'm going to remove this object because it's not scored. Do you have any questions?
Mm-hmm.
And that gives them the buy-in. It lets them have trust that you're not just going to go willy-nilly moving stuff around on the field on them, and they know what's happening and they feel like you're in it with them.
And right below that, James wrote, if possible, have a second scorekeeper, if you have the manpower to do it, use a second piece of paper, score paper, to have the teams initial the paper, because then there's a paper backup on it. Oh, I didn't approve it on the tablet, They may say that. So that is one. Harry writes that we have always showed the scores to the teams before submitting it to the TM table. That is a really, really good best practice. Francis says the training is straightforward and only takes an hour. It does. I mean, it doesn't take a long time for the key volunteer, and certification is really not a problem. Then we've got a few more here, and we're running close to our time. I'm going to go to this one. Highlight this. What happens if an event is found to be run without a certified head ref? I would suggest that if that is if you have an event and you couldn't find a certified referee because they called in or whatever, please get with your regional support managers so that they have a heads up on it. But please make every effort to network with other event partners in your region, your areas, to be able to get certified head ref. But we do know you have them. I was at 2 events last year and there was no certified head ref there, and one got ill and the other one hit a deer on the way to the event, you know. Wow. And so they weren't able to get there, and that's important. Okay, we're running out of time here. We try to, Foster says we try to put our head referee in the gold and black ref shirts to make them stand out. That's really, really good.
Yeah, and you know, Mike, let them run the event meeting, you know, so that everybody knows exactly who is going to be making the calls, who the head referee is. I always have them field questions, the kids to field questions if we have time, you know, at the event meeting, just so that they get those questions that they have out there and they know that the head referee is going to listen to them. Yeah. Also, I try to like make sure if it's me or the event, I just tell the event partner, I was like, make sure that those head referees have plenty of water. Oh yeah. As they're running around, make sure that they're comfortable. They're going to, you know, those are key volunteers and they're going to be back, right? If they had a good time at your event, no matter where it's at, if they had a good time and it was seamless and you know, you took care of them, they're going to be jumping to come back the next year. So that's
I've got 2 real important ones here, and then we're going to have to wrap this up. Is there an age requirement for the head ref, Kirk?
There is. 20 years old is for the VRC, and I believe it's 18 for IQ. I could be wrong. It may be 16 for IQ.
It's 16 for IQ. Okay, and then one thing that I want to point out that I've seen many great referees do. They are proactive at making sure that the team really has a hard time at violating a rule and getting DQ'd. I mean, I've been there standing next to Zia, and she says, "Don't do that. You know you can't do that." And she's pointing at them, and the kids say, "Yeah, okay, she's watching me. I'm not going to do that." And I've seen other referees do the same thing where they're proactive because they don't want to DQ anybody in the event, but they sometimes are forced to. And so that is being proactive and also making sure that at the event partner, that the meeting you have for everybody there, that you get a chance to speak a little bit. Kirk, I'm going to have to turn this back to you. One last reminder, all of these comments you have in here will be published, so you'll be able to see it, and this recording is recorded. You'll be able to play it back, and you'll be able to see all the comments that were put in here. Kirk, it's back to you.
So on that, I appreciate everybody for coming. I appreciate, basically, we've got a few more. I think there's a few more sessions. Please stay. They're going to be great sessions. I've got, this is probably the greatest team that I've ever worked with. So I want to give you a heads up, or my hat's off to those folks that made this thing happen. I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate you making this fun and making it a discussion like I wanted it to be. So thank you guys, and I will see you later.